Boom! Welcome back to Mind Pump. In this episode, we talk about why strength training is the best form of exercise if you want to slow the aging process, and who doesn't want to do that. Also, later in the episode, we talk about creatine. It's one of our favorite supplements, has a lot of great benefits, but we learned about just one more. In the second half of the episode, we coach 4 live callers on questions such as, how can I build muscle and lose fat at the same time? What is the best way to lift weights as a boxer? Finally, are there days that you're short on time and need a quick Mind Pump fix? Well, we have the answer for you. It's called Mind Pump Clips. Short clips taken from the show that you can easily consume and share. Go over to our other channel, Mind Pump Clips, and subscribe. All right, enjoy the show.
It's becoming clear that the best form of exercise to directly combat the aging process and all of the potential dangers that come from aging is strength training. It's better than all other forms of exercise as you get older.
Here's your fitness tip. Follow and listen to Mind Pump.
I know.
Hey.
You know why? Okay,
You
so
love when these studies just keep
I
coming
love
out,
it.
don't you?
Keep 'em coming.
So first I want to be clear, okay? All forms of exercise, all forms of activity, so long as they're done appropriately or applied appropriately, will benefit you as you get older. So
I love the
I'm not
Freudian
saying
slip.
Yeah, I know almost. I was like, he's just going to.
I know he didn't say anything. I thought he was
So
going to
much.
say
I
something.
know, usually I do.
They all improve your health. They'll all make the aging process feel better. They're all going to help fight and combat some of the things that happen along the aging process. That being said, if you compare them head to head, it's becoming very, very clear that the most protective form of exercise for the aging process is strength training. And Dr. Andy Galpin just posted some studies and data to show that. So that the fast twitch muscle fiber loss that happens as you get older. So these are the muscle fibers that are responsible for strength. As you get older, you start to notice more sarcopenia, right? The loss of muscle, and it's these fast twitch muscle fibers that really decline. Cardiovascular exercise doesn't prevent that. So they showed that people, as they get older, doing lots of cardio, and you know, again, cardio has some health benefits. It's good for the heart, and it's active, which is better than not being active. It didn't do much to anything to combat muscle and strength loss, and that's a big deal because as you get older, if you look at the issues that plague people as they get older, you really can look at them in one short category. It's like insulin resistance, cognitive decline, loss of mobility, and then the challenges that come with loss of mobility, which is falls. People fall down, they break a bone, hurt themselves, and then things tend to decline very quickly from there. Strength training is an incredible remedy for all those things. For insulin resistance, it's phenomenal because muscle is very insulin sensitive. For cognitive decline, when it comes to improvements in cognitive performance, strength training outperforms other forms of exercise, and data's showing this. And then mobility. People fall as they get older because they get weaker. This is why people fall. It's weakness. It's not necessarily just you lose your balance. That can happen as well from your equilibrium and your issues with the inner ear, but most of it's weakness.
I know it has protective qualities too for your vital organs and whatnot, but also doesn't it have like an immune boosting effect as well in comparison to cardiovascular training?
All of it boosts your immune system, but strength training is very anti-cancer in comparison. It's actually the most anti-cancer form of exercise, and the number one risk factor for cancer is age.
Yeah.
As you get older, I think 1/3 of us will die from cancer.
Well, it must be, I mean, I guess correlated somewhat to if you're not able to move, right? And like you don't have the strength to get up out of your chair, like you start this rapid decline in health. And we see this with older people all the time. And so that's why I think as we age more, it's even a higher priority for people to really consider.
I think that's really the takeaway too. I think sometimes we get labeled as these anti-cardio guys, which that's not the case at all. But
we're the do the most bang for your buck guys.
That's right. They're 100% is a better one than the other, and we continue to see this, that strength training is better than cardio in almost all aspects, other than maybe
endurance,
and stamina training. I mean, that other than that, like what most people come to the gym for, strength training is the best bet. And so, if you are going to prioritize an exercise regime, I am going to pick strength training as the foundation. And then, yeah, that would be great if you went and did, 20 minutes of cardio every day, or, went for a nice long run occasionally. I think there's lots of movement. I love that. But to me, that's like the icing on the cake. You build everything. Your non-negotiable is I'm going to strength train. And then, hey, if I got some time to go out for the hike and go for a run and do these things, then heck yes, I want to see you do that.
Yes.
But what I don't want to see is what I saw, I feel like in the 90s and for sure 80s. I don't remember that in my age, I was so young, but I know that it was popular all the way from the 70s. Is this the best form of exercise is running?
Actually, it was the only form.
Right.
Almost nothing else was recommended, and strength training was definitely not recommended. So here's the deal. We have to work with reality. So in a perfect world, if I could have people exercise as they get older, what would their routine look like? Well, it would have a foundation of strength training. There'd be a cardiovascular component. There'd be a mobility component. There'd be some meditation or spiritual practices. Their diet would look perfect. Like they'd have good relationships with people around them. I can make this list that's almost completely endless. But the reality is when it comes to exercise specifically, that's our expertise, right? When it comes to exercise, people will do one. They're not going to do 2, 3, 4 different forms of exercise. They'll do one in terms of consistency. And if that's you, which is most people, especially as you get older, pick the one that's going to give you the most bang for your buck. 2 hours of strength training will protect you against the effects of aging more than 2 hours of any other form of exercise by far. By far. Now, other forms of exercise also have protective benefits. So 2 hours of anything done appropriately is better than 2 hours of nothing. But if you're going to pick something, and so 100% my opinion is, in the next 10 years, the medical establishment is going to make strength training the primary form of exercise they recommend to people as they get older. That's what I think. I think they're going to literally come out and say,
it looks that way.
It totally looks.
All these studies coming out.
And we know this, that a simple grip test, which it's not the grip that's important, it's just a proxy for overall body strength, but a simple grip test will predict all-cause mortality better than almost any other single metric, which is crazy. You can do blood markers, you can do all kinds of stuff, just your grip strength. If it's really bad, they could predict your all-cause mortality better, which to me is pretty insane. So it's like, and I'll tell you, when I train clients, one of the reasons why I love training people in advanced age was the effects were so much more profound in them than in my younger populations. It was life-changing profound. It was like I'm dependent on people helping me to I'm independent. It was I can't go up my stairs without, my chair that pulls me up there to I can walk up the stairs now, or I don't have to move out of my house, or I don't need a full-time nurse, or my blood sugar is so much more controlled. I went off my medication. I saw profound health effects with 1 to 2 days a week of strength training. That's it. That's all I did with people in this age group. Here's the prize for today's context, MAPS Split. This is a bodybuilder style split routine. You can win it, but you got to do this. Leave a comment below in the first 24 hours that we drop this episode. Subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications, do all those things. If we like your comment and choose it, we will notify you in the comment section. You'll get free access to MAPS Split. Now, we also have a sale going on this month. MAPS OCR, 50% off. And MAPS Cardio, 50% off. Both 50% off only for the month of November. If you're interested, click on the link at the top of the description below for that hookup. All right, here comes the show.
Did you guys see who's out of prison? Totally left turn for you guys.
Okay.
Did you see?
Famous? No.
Yeah, infamous probably, right?
Infamous.
What? So Billy McFarland, you remember who that is?
Wait, he went to prison?
Yeah, big time.
Wait, was he the guy that did he did the music with
the Fire Festival?
Oh, that guy.
Yes.
That guy.
Pull him up,
Billy.
Doug. Okay, pull him up. And he's
Damn, I was thinking of that one guy. Boop, 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 boop. What's that guy's name?
Oh, Bobby McFarland.
Yeah, I was like, why was he in jail?
Don't worry.
Yeah, that guy.
I just got out of jail.
No, this is the guy who did the whole Fire Festival scam. And the crazy, I think he's not even out for a day or two and is already posting on social media and is talking about some massive event.
He probably was planning some other new festival.
Like I bet you. Okay, so
I've got something in the works.
Oh my God.
Look at. He's got something in the works. He said he's going to announce in November. He's already alluding to it's another.
He already has investors that lined up and everything.
Okay, so I totally think what you just said, Justin, is exactly what happened. I think he went back over and looked at where he went wrong and okay, how could I have protected? How could I have done exactly the same thing and made all that money and not got sued
Not
and
screwed everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, no, I don't think he cares if he screws people or
Really?
not. I think he just cares.
No.
I just think cares if he gets held accountable for screwing people. So I bet
Right.
you're
He cares
right.
that he got caught.
I bet he sat
Well, hey,
down.
man, kudos to him for trying again. I mean,
I mean, shame on anybody investing in his ideas. But,
yeah,
you
yes. That's so. I can't wait to see who puts money behind this. How crazy!
if you put money behind this, though, you would have to think that the investors this time would be like, I want complete transparency. I want to know what's happening and where and what's going on. And I want to be able to bail halfway through if something like you have to imagine that's what investors would ask for. And he's going to say, let me prove it to you that this time it's going to be good. Because
I mean, I imagine the way it goes.
he has name
Wasn't
recognition.
he partnered with Ja Rule? That was like one of his main
Yeah, it
guys.
was one of
Ja Rule.
Yeah.
Is he still around? Is he alive?
No. But you see the thing? Do you follow? I follow 50 Cent for randomly, right? So
You do?
I do, and mainly because he posts like wacky shit all the time. And
Didn't he change his name because of
one of
inflation?
his favorite things is just that he throws jabs at Jaw. They've had beef forever.
Really?
Yeah. So he like throws like
50 Cent would beat the shit.
like
out
he
of
put like I think last year. I think it was last year or the year before when Jaw was doing like this like tour again. And he like showed this picture of like a stadium and there's like one person sitting in. He's like Ja Rule concert. Yeah, he just throws like fucking just jabs.
Hey,
at
can
him
we
all
have
day.
names like that? Like, I don't want to be Sal anymore or Justin and Adam. We need some
More like
names.
a Ja
You
Rule.
can't come up.
Yeah.
Somebody has to like come up with it for you. That's the rules.
Yeah, dude, I want
somebody
something
called
like
him
that.
Ja.
You know what I mean?
Yo, speaking of like crazy stuff like that too, is did you guys also see? So I think it was just a couple days ago. I know this will air off on a few days, so it'll probably be last week. Alec Baldwin posted the picture.
Oh my god! Talk about fail, dude.
What?
Of what? What do you
What
mean?
is
the
he
girl?
thinking?
The girl he killed.
Yeah.
You posted a
on
picture
the
of her?
day of,
Yeah,
like
so
it was a year
Yes.
from the date
Like
when he shot her.
So the one
like
year
he felt
anniversary.
feels bad or whatever.
Yeah, like-
Yeah, but the caption was this like maybe Doug could find the caption. Alec Baldwin
but
posts.
but here's the thing, like that it's such a tragedy. Like for him, it just seems so like I don't know what the word is, like not callous, but like it's just one of those. It's self-serving, like
Narcissistic, for sure.
narcissistic. Yeah,
the fact that you would even post that on there. I mean, okay, great. If you're really sorry, then maybe a personal letter to the family.
Now it does it to the public.
Yeah, like who
a
posted on
massive
Instagram?
donation, like to something.
Yeah, I mean,
is that it right there?
To her
yes.
family.
What's the caption say?
1 year ago today.
That's it.
That's it.
That's all it says. With a picture of the girl he shot.
That's weird.
That's fucking way weird.
That's weird.
What an idiot, dude!
Justin, with the commentary. You know, I feel
Like, come on, like
I mean,
that's like,
bro,
that
that's,
is a pretty
listen,
stupid
you're
move.
pretty like not self-aware.
I feel, you know what though? Here's the deal. I feel like if you meet celebrities like this in person, I think they're all gonna like the universe revolves around them. I think all of them are like that. It's got to be the weirdest experience.
I mean, I don't think all, but I think that obviously
I think there's some
that's
normal
an
one,
that's an
like,
overgeneralization.
maybe
Kanye.
1%.
Oh shit! My bad. My bad.
That's an overgeneralization for sure.
Starting hot.
Oh, I was not gonna go there, Adam.
Yeah,
You pull us in every time.
yeah.
You know, can I make a comment on Kanye? Is that okay, Doug? Can I do that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So look, here's the deal. I want to
Doug
say
will
this.
just edit it out.
I
got the
want to say
beat
this real
button
quick
here.
about Kanye.
Don't you dare! We haven't edited in 7 years. Why start
we
now?
I'm gonna
We
accept
haven't
that one
edited
time.
it.
Remember? Here's the deal. Okay. Here's what really annoys us. So I try to when shit like this happens, I try to take a bigger look, like a 40,000 foot view, because number one, I don't know Kanye. I really don't care about Kanye. I don't know him personally. It really has no effect on me. So when stuff like this happens, what I do is I try to pause and I try to take a bigger like view. Okay, like what's going on here? And you know what's annoying to me is the selective outrage that people have. Here's what I mean by that. He made some comments that were super generalized, bigoted, right? The Jews
they were
this,
offensive for sure.
Jews that, right?
Yeah.
And I get that. I get that. Like I'm against generalizing based off of immutable characteristics. Okay, but here's a selective outrage. You know how many people say white people this and
Well,
white
how is that
Christian
any
males
different
this?
than the systemic racism argument that you have all of these powerful white men in power that are
It's the
oppressing
same.
so many things? How is
It's
that
the
any
same.
different?
That's what I'm saying.
But
It's
that
selective
is
outrage.
completely acceptable to talk about.
It's insane to me.
And to not only talk about that, but to make that a major talking point about what's wrong with this country. And so having him come out and say something like that, which again, I'm with you. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's right. But at the same time, too, how is everyone so pissed at that? But we don't get pissed about that
Because people are mad at what they're told to be mad at.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous to me. Like you
It's
can
like be
say-
mad at both if you're going to
you
be
could say,
be
you
mad
know,
Be mad at all of it.
Yeah, well,
or
be-
whatever. If
be
you be
con-
consistent is all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like if you're against bigotry, then be against bigotry. If you're against generalizing based off of, discriminating based off of immutable characteristics, then be consistent. But so many of these same celebrities that are hammering Kanye have said so many times, white Christian men or white people this, white people that. It's like, listen, it's all wrong. All that generalization is wrong, and don't defend it. I hate it when people try to defend it. Well, like, shut up. That's bullshit. So I'm not agreeing with Kanye, but the outrage is all manufactured. Most people.
I also think it's stupid when we put all these celebrities on pedestals. So like that. Like he's, you know what he's a genius at? Rapping.
Music.
That's it.
Music.
Rapping and making some cool clothes. I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, fashion and rapping is what the guy's known for. So why would you take his political point of views, his economic point of views,
he's
his
obviously
social point of views? Why would you even give him that much weight in that area?
100%. He's totally though. He's definitely pushing. He's getting into that manic space. I don't know if have you guys ever dealt with somebody who goes.
You're the closest manic person I know.
Yeah. So so thank you. I don't get manic, but I can definitely get hypomanic, which is just under it. So I don't go crazy, but I can get those states of like whatever. Anyway, I had a friend who would go from depressed to manic, and in the manic.
It all associated with bipolar?
Yes.
Okay, because
Yes.
I've had a few clients who are bipolar.
I had a guy who worked for me as bipolar. So and I dated.
Did you ever watch him?
And I dated a bipolar chick. I've told you the story about that.
Oh,
before.
yeah,
yeah. So I definitely am.
Did you ever see the manic state?
Yeah,
Like full mania?
Well, I mean, I don't know how you're defining the difference between somebody who is bipolar versus someone who's manic.
Oh, so manic so bipolar is the two extremes.
Yep.
So depressed.
Yep.
And then manic.
Okay.
So and mania is hyper energy, crazy ideas. It can get to the point where you literally are crazy.
Yeah.
Like you're literally crazy.
Just
like I'm
spewing out anything.
Yeah, like I wrote on a napkin an invention for limitless energy, and it's going to change the world. Like literally crazy. It could go real crazy, right? You could have hypomania, which I've had before, which is under that, where I just got lots of energy, lots of creative energy. I talk a lot, I get excited, that kind of stuff. But I've never gone, at least to my knowledge. I should ask my wife. Have I ever been crazy? But he's obviously, and a lot of creative people get in this because when you start to go into mania, you get a lot of creativity, a lot of energy, and he's obviously getting into that state.
You know what's funny to me though too is everybody who has such a problem with it is you're only helping him by posting crazy about it and making shit go. It's so crazy. Like if you're so outraged, like honestly, the thing would be is stop buying any of his shit, stop listening to his music, take him out of your mouth, don't talk about him, move on from that guy. You spreading it, and what's happening right now with the banks pulling him out, Adidas just dropped him, dude. And I know that the article, the headline was, "Oh, he's no longer a billionaire. Now he's only worth $400 million because that Adidas deal was $1.2 billion." Okay, well, yeah. Watch when he launches his own thing that's not connected to Adidas or Nike and see.
Yeah, but I don't think they're thinking to themselves. I don't think Adidas is like, we want to cripple Kanye. I think they're thinking we need to distance ourselves.
I think all these people are only doing it to virtue signal. It is literally, we want to look good and we need to, everyone is getting outraged at this guy. So we need to make sure we stand on the right side of the fence here because we don't want to get blackballed.
Yeah,
That's
of course.
100%.
Yeah, they're thinking about their pocketbooks like they always do, right? Like this may hurt sales, so let's get away. I get that. But it's the selective outrage part that's just, and I say selective because there's no consistency with a lot of people. It's like they're mad, and then it happens over here, and they're cool. That's not the same. It's the same.
So he lost his Adidas contract, which I guess then puts him out of the billionaire spot, right? Like it dropped his.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
That's
because it was.
Where's it now? You think?
Well, so $400 million is what they project now. Net worth stuff is so funny because. I mean, I used when I was younger, I used to think like that was my I want to get to a certain net worth. But the way that people calculate that, I mean, we are off air. Remember,
you know how many poor millionaires we have in San Jose because they bought their houses decades ago. They don't make a lot of money, and all their values in their house. They can't sell their house. They don't.
Yeah, I mean that's one way to talk about it. It's another way to talk about it where it's totally insane to me too. Is just the like you'll take if you have a business, right? You take the EBITDA and you multiply it by 3 or 5x, some 9, 10x, depending on the type of business, and then that gets calculated into your net worth. But it's not like you can take any of that money and go and buy. It's
not real money yet.
Yeah, not yet until it's real. If you sell the company and then you get what they claim it's worth 3, 5, whatever x, then okay, now you technically have that, but. I mean, now where I'm at in my cash flow is more important to me. How much cash flow can I build? How much passive income can I build?
Well, that's more like applicable to real life.
Yeah, and it's constantly coming in. It's not something that I'm on paper I'm worth X amount of dollars. It's I've built this machinery, right?
Okay, so is there any moving conspiracy with this though? Because I actually heard that it was like somebody was talking about a way for him to get out of contracts.
So okay, that's the part.
I mean, I'm not buying into these. I'm just curious what's out there right now.
I love when people come up with like the obvious is not.
Well, I
real.
like conspiracies like this because this is now in the stuff that I like to.
You're just as bad as we are, bro. I hate it when you make fun of us.
You just come from a different angle.
Yeah.
So
It's
these are the ones
pop
that
culture angle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, when you're talking about marketing and advertising and business, like, you know, the old saying of no pub is, you know, bad pub is bad pub is good pub, and, you know,
pub is bad pub.
Yeah, no pub. Right. So getting publicity, good or bad, is always good in the business of making money.
It's better than no.
So
pub. Yeah.
part of me sometimes thinks when I see something like this come out and then him double and triple down on something like that, is he's been in the marketing game for a long time now, especially trying to promote yourself in the rap. I mean, talk about, that's got to be like one of the hardest hustles, is coming up from the street, hustling your rap, making it all the way. So this guy knows how to hustle. Mm-hmm. So to just assume that he's this crazy guy who's bipolar, who says off the wall shit with no strategy at all, I don't know. I could get, and I also don't say that doesn't mean I'm going like full on, I'm conspiracy mode, but I wouldn't.
You think it's calculated?
I wouldn't put it past someone to say some calculated.
Have you ever seen his Twitter streams, like his tweets, and he goes off. And here's the deal: people like people who are a little crazy. They do. We like them.
And do you think someone like that, who's come up from the bottom like that, doesn't know that? Who had to hustle to get his songs picked up, and like? I
think he thinks that he's obviously got a high level of narcissism. You have to in order to do that kind of stuff. And I think he thinks, no matter what, I'm gonna succeed, and I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. And then if you push him, he's gonna push back, because that's what he does. He pushes back harder. I don't necessarily think he's sitting there making this plan, and he's like, what was that tweet? I'm gonna go DEFCON 3 on the Jews. Like,
I think he sees what you saw, which is basically, here's this. Okay, a major talking point in the last few years has been, or almost like 5, I'd say. The systemic racism conversation has been a huge one, and very few people want to oppose it, and and everybody wants to jump on it and say yes, yes, and agree with all of it. And then what he said, when you unpack both of those, is the same thing. They're both wrong. They're not fair, but I think he knows that. It's the same thing that he just did with the White Lives Matter shirt. You think that was just like you don't think he thought about what he was doing?
No, that was more calculated.
That was calculated, and it goes against the normal narrative. So does what he's doing right now, goes against the normal narrative. And
well, no, that's not just against the narrative. That's just he just made statements that were not. I mean, they were obviously generalized discriminatory.
But you could make that case for the White Lives Matter thing. That's a like right in your face.
No, that's not the same thing. So wearing a White Lives Matter is.
I'm not saying it's the same thing, but I mean, as far as it being in the face of basically,
I guess from that
what's
standpoint,
accepted in the mainstream right now.
Yeah, I guess from that standpoint, but he put his foot in his mouth. This one, he's not going to get supported by anybody on the political spectrum. Or at least not publicly, because it just doesn't sound good. It's not right how he said it. But look, Kanye makes money off of being Kanye. Is this going to crush him? I don't know. I doubt it. I wouldn't bet against him.
No, of course not.
I think he's figured out how to make money doing crazy shit for a long time. But for me, again, the big picture is a selective outrage. People are so mad. These same people will say the same exact types of statements, but just insert white people in there, and somehow that's okay. And in fact, I've heard people debate and why that's okay, why that's justified. It's like, no, dude, that's the same freaking thing. Yeah. So it's insane to me.
I mean, that's what I think we all agree on that. And I personally, I think that right or wrong, that's his way of trying to get that conversation going. And I do think that he thinks he's so brilliant that this is a clever way to do it. And again, I don't support what he says, but I think to just, he's crazy and manic and he just says off the wall shit. I'm just like, okay, well, I don't know. I think this guy's like one of the things he's good with is his words. So to think that before he goes into an interview where he knows probably what his PR knows what he's going to get asked and talked about, that he didn't sit down and think about what areas is he going to intentionally push.
Oh, I think he thought about it. I just don't think he thought about it like a logical person would. I think he thought about it in Kanye think, you know, which is, but it also like none of us know the guy and whatever.
Yeah.
It's funny. It
didn't come out right.
It's the latest thing. So that's whatever. And what he said was wrong. So yeah, big deal. But everybody that's pissed off about it, like, are you still mad when other people do the same thing with other people? That's the part that I challenge.
So speaking of being mad, I want to know if you guys would be mad about this. Mississippi teacher is, I don't know what, I know she's getting sued for doing this, but did you guys see this? It was, go to New York Post, Mississippi teacher scares.
I saw the video. That talk about wanting to piss me off and like get me out of my seat.
What?
Like, dude, these people are psycho. These teachers like put on a scream mask and scare the shit out of these toddlers. Like,
what?
Like deliberately. Like just like, ah.
And made the kids cry.
Video.
So they tried to make. Oh, they were like terrified.
No. They were like, yeah, exactly. Like,
why?
Because she tried to claim that she was trying to motivate them to like clean up or pick up their.
That's a terrible way.
I know,
well, now they're facing felony charges, right?
Look at.
Children screaming in terror at a daycare center as a grown-up wearing a scary mask yells in their faces.
Oh no. No. That's not cool.
I know. It's hard to watch.
No, that's not cool.
Can you believe
to
that?
motivate them to clean?
Yeah, that was the defense, right? I don't know how. Obviously, I doubt that held up very well. Like people,
it's like I'm going to go in there with an unloaded gun and be like, "Hey, you better do what I say." And after it's unloaded, I just want to motivate you.
Just kidding. Yeah, it was not real.
It was a joke. Wow, that's terrible. What's wrong with people? So they're obviously going to get in trouble for this.
Well, they're getting sued by the parents. I don't know what the schools.
If I saw that,
I saw that they may be facing felony charges for this.
Wow.
I can't read what it's saying. Can you see it, Doug?
And like they're laughing. Could you imagine?
It better be good. Yeah, and they're laughing. The teachers are laughing about it.
Wow. That's oh my God. If I saw that and that was my kid.
I know. That's where that like kind of comes out. Like
I mean, that's why I brought it up to you guys, because Katrina told me and then I looked it up and then I felt the same way too. I'm just like, dude,
have you guys
stupid? You know what's funny? This is what happens when you let teachers who don't have kids fucking teach. Yeah, that's what that is, right? There's some teacher who doesn't have kids who doesn't realize how much it's going to traumatize
Someone
their
needs to
kid.
scare the shit out of that teacher.
Traumatizing.
Have you guys? Okay, so I don't know if you've done this yet, Adam, because your boy's still kind of young, but maybe Justin. Have you ever done something where you didn't really think it out with your boys?
Oh, and you push the limit a little
bit. And
it
just terrified them. And you're like, oh.
Yeah. So this was roller coasters, right? And I'm one to kind of push and nudge to go for it. And like, let's, worry about the ramifications of it later, right? Like, let's see what you're capable of handling. And so Everett was probably like, I want to say 4 or 5, whatever the lowest age possible that you can go on Space Mountain. And of course, ironically, that time it was near Halloween, so it had this whole new setup. So it was like this projected ghost that was the most terrifying like ghost they could possibly have, like flying after you and going like rah, and like they turned all the lights off extra, so it was like really dark. And even before I got in on there, I asked the person that was working, I'm like, is this going to be appropriate? Is he going to be okay? And he's like, oh yeah, it's going to be fine. Yeah, so he was like shaking, he gripping my hand like the hardest I've ever felt him grip my hand. And then we get off, and he just like had his head down, and he was like shaking.
Oh my God!
I was like,
oh my God!
Oh no, dude! It's taken me like the little ride where you just like go around in a circle. With,
you traumatized him.
Yeah, I had to start with that all over again. It's like I had to start there and then just slowly build back up to the Big Dipper.
That's the worst. Hey, it's the worst.
He's like feeling. 17 and he's just now not peeing himself when it goes dark.
Bro, dude, I felt so terrible.
It's the worst feeling. I did that to my son. I don't remember how old he was, 7, and there was this anime that came out, and I'm like, oh, this will be kind of cool. And there's this fucking scary like scene where these like big giants like eat people and bite them in half, which I didn't anticipate. And my son was watching it. It was cool up until that point because they're doing like kung fu and shit. And then that comes out, and he buries his head. He just buries his head into my armpit. Yeah. And I immediately was like, oh, I fucked up. I turned it off.
Yeah.
And he would not watch anything like that for years.
Oh, I bet.
Until this day, he's like, yeah, remember the time you made that terrible decision?
Yeah, he still
Remember when he
remembers.
did that to me,
Oh.
Dad? Like,
I
Yeah, I
did
don't
another
know.
one
I don't know
I
if
do remember.
Katrina is. She's quick to get to me. I'm like Justin. I'm always trying to push the limits a little bit, and she's always like, "Don't you do that with him, man." I'm like, "Okay, relax." So,
It's it's always dads because there's like a movie or something we can't wait to share with our kids.
Oh, yeah.
And we end up making no, you're old enough to watch this.
violence. I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's long as
Have you
there's no
seen
crazy sexual stuff?
Do you remember showing your kids Gremlins for the first time? Gremlins is terrifying.
haven't seen
yeah,
it yet.
no, I was scared as a kid.
Bro,
You know
that was terrifying.
So you know what I'm having a hard time with right now is that Max is like infatuated with Halloween. Zombies and skeletons and
Yeah.
like he just and so when he gets home from school right now, he doesn't want to go in the house. He wants to go walk the neighborhood and go walk to like all the scariest houses. And so he loves this stuff.
That's cool. I was like that.
Oh, he wants, and that's all he wants to watch. So if he's watching his iPad, he wants to watch all the Halloween special stuff. So super new. But then we're having nightmares, dude. So it's like,
Oh, yeah.
So he's, and you can't
My boys
that
went through
they're
that
so
phase.
young that you can't communicate to them like, son, maybe we should stop looking at zombies and all this.
So you know what
stuff.
it is? I was like that.
Yeah.
I was like that for a long time. He likes the thrill. So he pushes them. I was the same way. I would watch movies that were scary and I loved them because they were scary, and then I couldn't sleep and I'd have nightmares, but it didn't stop me. So I was the same way. He likes the thrill of it.
We had that, and so we tried to have them watch it like in the middle of the day, thinking that like, yeah, maybe we could just show it to them then, and then they're not gonna
Still don't
remember
matter.
at night.
Huh.
Still nightmares.
Yeah.
We went through a whole phase of like night terrors.
Dude, it
was bad.
My little cousin, this one was the worst. I'll never forget. I don't remember how old he was. He was a little kid, maybe 7 or something. And do you guys remember that internet video that went around a long time ago where you're looking, you have to go through this maze with the cursor, and then if you touch the walls, a scary ass face pops up and it screams hell loud? Do you guys remember this? It was like a prank.
No.
Yeah. So you send it to your friends and you go, hey, try this maze. And they try and everybody fails, and then it goes, ah!
Yeah, it's like
This
almost
guy's-
that snake game or
yeah, and then people.
remember that.
So I did this with him on my lap, not knowing what would happen. And I knew it was gonna be scary, but I didn't know it was gonna be that scary. Well, anyway, when the monster came out and screamed, he did that for like 30 seconds. And I felt so bad, dude. I held him and I'm like, wow,
Dude,
what have I done?
That one got a lot of people.
It did. It did.
That was a great prank.
Anyway, I got a hack for you guys, a food hack. I'm not a big, you guys, I'm not like Doug or whatever. I don't make great stuff, but I did figure this out. You guys so I like using ground beef. It's convenient, it's easy, great source of protein. If it's grass-fed, nice fatty acid profile. So like ButcherBox has the grass-fed ground beef. So I'll take a pound of ground beef and I'll mix a 1/4 pound of pork sausage, the ground pork sausage with it. So I'll make beef patties, but the sausage adds like the best flavor. Makes it so good.
Mixing sausage in ground meat, huh?
Yeah, so it's ground
interesting.
sausage. It's
So
the
we
ground
do that
sausage.
in the dish that everybody asks about that I post, and I don't think I've posted the recipe, so because Katrina makes it. That quinoa pasta dish that looks like lasagna.
Oh.
That's how we would do ground beef, and then she does a little bit of the sausage in there to give it that flavor, and it's bomb.
It makes
I'll have to try it.
It's a nice combination with the beef and the sausage. It gives it such a good. So I
Well,
just ate those
especially
so much.
the ButcherBox beef because it's so lean. It's so
Yeah.
it's so lean, and so that sausage gives that kind of the juicy
Gives it a
fatty
kick.
side of it. Yeah.
Dude, speaking of food, man, I was so yesterday I go over to Luna, but the one in the prune yard. So they have one over here, the one that we always go to.
Yeah.
Then there's one in the prune yard, the big one, and the owner was there. I haven't seen her in a while, so we're talking, and we're having good conversation. And Jessica's like, which location are you at more, and whatever. She's like, oh, I spend more of my time here. She goes, I have 160 employees to manage. I'm like, what? How many employees do you have at this restaurant? 160
Wait, just at the location
in
or
the
is
prune
it
yard.
Both.
At the prune yard.
Wow,
And-
that's a lot.
Bro, and I have an uncle. My grandfather's brother. My grandfather just passed away. His brother has a restaurant in Folsom called Visconti's Restaurant. It's been there forever, and so I'm somewhat familiar with the restaurant business. But when I heard that number, like if you're not passionate, like really passionate about owning a restaurant, that's got like
It's a
no
lot of
way you
heads
could
to
do it.
feed right there.
There's no way.
Yeah.
That's got to be the worst business.
Oh yeah,
That's gotta be so hard.
It's a brutal business. I mean, I basically made like minimum wage and then like tips and all that. But I mean, still like to be able to manage everybody's schedules and like have to consider like all those employees. That's a lot of,
and the margins are not
the
huge.
margins are
and
slim.
Prep before you
got to
open.
continuously have inventory like way thought out. Otherwise, you're short.
Yeah.
And then especially on the busy nights, you get totally screwed. So
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
When she
man.
said that, I'm like, oh my God, I've managed 60 employees, 160. Holy shit!
I sure wish we get some free guacamole though, with all the fucking free advertising and stuff they get from us.
the
Eat
Mind
there
Pump
every single
tacos
day.
or
I
something.
mean, we eat there every single day, dude.
Yeah.
Every single day. Talk all the time about it. We bring
Hey,
people in there all the
it's
time.
delicious.
Can't get some fucking guacamole maybe for free every once in a while.
Adam's such a
Jesus, dude.
that's the biggest.
It's just bad business, in my opinion. I feel like if
No,
someone,
it's obviously good business. You keep going there.
Yeah,
The food's
no,
hella
it's
good.
good
keep
food. It is
recommending
good.
it. They're getting a
It's
free
amazing.
commercial
It's,
right now.
it's amazing food, but I just that's stuff when people don't do that.
Just recognize me. That's all I want.
no, it's not. No. Don't get that twisted. This was way before.
I mean
my book
recognize
not
It's like
exist.
just like what you would do as a business owner.
Yes.
Like it's different.
One of my favorite. So I used to go to this
I always feel
coffee
the
shop
same.
for years. Okay, long ago, and every single morning I ate there, and I got a big meal and stuff like that. And what they would do, just not asking nothing, just every once in a while, would be like, I don't know, every 7th or 8th meal there, they would give me like a pie for dessert for free, or hey, today's on us, don't worry about it. Like they would do stuff like that. I mean, and that did it locked me in. It means
Yeah.
I would even, and then I'd spend more. And
That's old school. My uncle's like that. So if you go to, I don't know if he still does it, but I know his sons and grandchildren and nieces all run it. When you go there, one of the reasons why he's been named, that restaurant's been named as the best Italian food in Folsom for so many years, is he walks around at night. He walks around, has wine with people, sits down with people at the
There's
table.
an Italian restaurant here called starts with an F. Have you been to it? It's like that. The owner comes around, and Katrina's mom knows him really well. And like every night he's in there, and he walks over and talks to all the.
Fratello's?
Is it Fratello's?
Maybe.
I think it might
Yeah, I
be
think
Fratello's.
That's the old school way, when you own a restaurant. It makes a big difference.
Why is that the old school way? That should be the way. So it's like good business. I feel like. I mean, that's just
Because the old school way is there's his restaurant. That's my uncle's restaurant.
Oh, they have a commercial, or is that the
That's
website?
their website. That's my cousin.
That's a good
That's so
website.
funny. So that's my cousin Frank. You know what's funny about that guy? So I worked with my dad as a kid, and Frank worked for my dad. Frank was his helper.
Bro, that's a
when
really
he was
good
teenager.
website. You know that?
Yeah, I know. They're great. The food is legit, bro. You want real legit Italian, Sicilian food? Go
So
there.
okay, so that obviously they have a very successful restaurant. Do they do very well, like financially?
Yeah, they do. It supports the whole family. The whole family works
awesome.
there. It's all family owned and operated. But yeah, my cousin Frank, I remember. So he was the guy's gonna. I don't know if he'll get mad at me saying this. He was like the stereotypical Guido, right? So like goatee, IROC Z. He had the IROC Z. He always had the fast, whatever.
Yeah.
Dated,
Medallion.
girls. He would wear the gold chains.
Yeah.
And he'd make those jokes and kind of whatever. And so I was young. I was probably like 14 or 13, and I'd show up to help. And he was my dad's helper, and he had to be in his late teens, early 20s. So to me, he was like the coolest guy in the world. And it was just funny, the story. I mean, the dirty jokes that guy used to tell me, Frank, they were very inappropriate for a young kid to hear. I'm going to see him soon for
Those are the best.
for the funeral.
That
'cause
was,
that's
I think, one of the coolest parts. If you were a kid, then you worked in construction or like a
they
job.
treated like a man.
I that was one of the things I used to like about working like that. You got to hear all the dirty.
You want to know
jokes
one
and
of
stuff that
the
were
one of the
inappropriate.
skills you learn working in construction? This is a skill that
How to heat a burrito up on the dash?
no, but that's also a
Yeah,
skill.
dashboard burritos, bro. I lived by that for a while.
No, here's a skill right here. Jessica's always like, you can go to the bathroom anywhere, a porta potty, restaurant, bar. You're not like grossed out. I'm like, honey, I used to go construction with my dad.
Yeah.
Like you have to figure it out when you go to these places and there's a porta potty shared by 30 construction guys and that's or a hole or
a little
whatever.
messy.
Or you're wiping your butt with the sawdust covered toilet paper all the time.
Yeah.
Because it blows all over the place. It's like,
Oh
God
my
damn
God.
it. God damn it. I gotta wipe my ass with this.
You blow
I don't
it.
know how many times that happened to me as a kid. Can we not? I feel like that's an invention waiting to happen for construction sites. Someone to have like
No sawdust.
Wet
Yeah,
wipe
no sawdust.
dispenser.
It's a commercial waiting to happen. I
Yeah,
swear.
dude. Anyways, good time. Anyway, all right, I got a conspiracy theory for you,
okay.
Adam.
Oh,
got
I
a
get
good
one.
for you. All right,
Wait, what?
Okay.
a good one.
not for me?
It's for Adam because Adam, you'll love it already.
okay.
You might not like it. You'll be pissed off about it. But Adam,
great.
Here's the stuff who goes. He's going to come and tell us why it's not a conspiracy. Whatever.
Okay, let me hear it.
In the latest infrastructure bill, this is what they do with these big bills, right? They pass these huge bills, And they're like, it's to whatever, fight climate change or to help, poor kids or something, right? That sounds like everybody's
Save the
supportive.
seals.
And they're huge bills, and they say we have to pass this. We have to pass this. We have 5 days, and nobody reads it because it's so big.
Yeah.
And what they do is they
Then
wedge in.
months later, we all start reading what we signed up for. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So what do we sign up for?
In the infrastructure bill,
which is just a recent one.
yes.
Okay.
In there is a government kill switch for all vehicles. So new vehicles, it'll be implemented in like 5 years or so. So all new vehicles in about 5 years or so that'll be built will be required to implement a kill switch in the vehicle, meaning the government can hit a button and turn, and that's it. Your car won't
I
work
do
anymore.
believe we were concerned about this.
We were about the electric cars, and that's right.
Oh, they would never do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Remember saying that, Adam?
Yeah, I remember
do.
saying that.
Every once in a while, I'm wrong.
Yeah. Right.
Every once in a while.
Every once in a every
very,
podcast.
very rare. Okay. But God damn, that's crazy. I'll tell you what, though.
Yeah, gas powered all day.
Yeah, that's right. My car's, I'm going to let them just sit in there and
Yeah.
go up in value, bro. That's for sure. You better believe there's going to be people that will not want that shit. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
And
And the way they're selling it
way
is
too
like,
much
of course,
power.
if you had
If you're a cop chase
that's
and-
right. If you're
yeah.
a cop chase and this and that, because I could totally see a bunch of robbers having a new Prius or a new freaking whatever. They're not going to have like some old gas car. Like you really think
Yeah.
they're going to be running around in electric vehicles?
no.
Well, you guys want to bring up, like controversial stuff. Like, look at what we just got in terms of a reversal recently in New York.
Oh, I saw that.
They have to reinstate all the employees they fired.
So how does that? How do you really truly implement something like that? Like,
It's a good
back
question.
pay. The back
yeah,
pay.
the back pay. Was it like 40,000?
They have to pay them the money that they could have made, and they have to reinstate them because they took it to court, fought it, and
This
won.
is a big deal.
Yeah.
Like very big deal.
Yes.
I mean, I love it.
I know.
So do I.
I think it's.
Why don't you describe what it is? So,
What do you mean?
well, the audience doesn't know what
So-
you're talking about.
Oh no, it was they
they were fired because they
Why were they
chose-
fired?
for not getting
For not
vaccinated.
getting
Sorry,
vaccinated.
Doug.
Yeah.
So it was the mandate to get vaccinated. If
Thank
you don't
you,
get
Doug.
vaccinated,
Yeah.
sorry about that.
Yeah.
If you don't get
that
vaccinated,
part.
you're fired. And they took them to court and they won, and so they got reinstated. Plus, they have to get paid back pay. So, and I think you're going to see more of this stuff. I really do.
Dude, okay, from the business perspective, how fucked are you from something like that? Because you've moved on, you've hired someone else, you're paying somebody else now
Yeah.
for those positions, or found a way to do that.
The government's fuck because private companies who are mandated by their government to do it, if they get sued, they could pass.
Okay,
the
so
buck
that's
and say,
that's what I'm.
Yeah, I was
where
just
I'm getting
following
at. Then.
orders.
So, say a massive company did that, and maybe we can look this up. What was the biggest COVID layoff? Like what company laid off the most people for not getting vaccinated? One, I'd like to
the
see
biggest
that.
were government entities.
Okay,
it
so
was like the
so like-
military.
Okay,
Well,
so
that's
like
the thing.
So
Is
say
that
law
going in?
enforcement, right?
Yeah.
So like law enforcement or something like that or whatever. So then do they turn around and then sue the government?
Okay, so
Because they're gonna come because if they
the vast majority of them are government, whatever, not companies, but government entities. So the vast majority of people who got fired worked for the government.
so then what ends up happening? Does that mean that they get sued? Okay, they win the court case, and then the government just peddles that money through the
Correct. And by the way,
I
the
mean,
government
which
doesn't
just means we all get fucked.
exactly.
Yeah,
the
no,
government doesn't have money. We have money. They take it from us.
I mean,
So
it's a principle.
That's what I'm trying to
though.
get at here. I mean, so I guess I'm for it, but not really because it's eventually going to screw all of us again, right? So we print a bunch of crazy money that fucks us. Then we fire these people for not being
That
vaccinated.
fucks us.
That
But
fucks us.
to
Then we turn
publicly
around
admit
and we,
that it was wrong is everything to me.
Yeah.
That's where I find it a big deal. Is like it went
Yeah, I
against
agree.
Constitution. Like this, everybody knew that they were just bypassing that because of some emergency authorization, and just completely disregarded our rights.
I wonder how many private companies did that. I did have a friend of mine who worked for a real estate brokerage company, a large one. And she had said that they were making it mandatory, and the way they were doing it in like different ways, like this, where they'd have these like contests for you to win money, and you couldn't enter in it unless you were vaccinated. They did shit like that to try and first motivate them, and then eventually turn it into like laying people off for that. That's fucking crazy, dude.
Well, I mean, look, the data, we're now far out enough, and we have data now that's showing that these COVID vaccines were some of the least effective vaccines that are on the market. Okay, that's just a fact. This is just the data.
Yeah,
this is the current
This
data.
is what came out.
They're not that effective. That's just a fact. They have some effectiveness, but they're not that effective. And then the side effects, the data is showing if we were to use the standards that we've always used with vaccines, they would have never passed trials. In other words, no, yes, massive amounts of people aren't dying. It isn't like whatever, but the amount of side effects they would have halted if it were any other vaccine. So
yeah, just like they pulled the Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah, so it's that's the data. The data is showing that, and people know this. I mean, less and less people are like moving in this direction because they're like, well, it doesn't work very well, and I felt like shit last time. I had to take a day off of work. Like those kind of side effects would prevent something from passing passing trials. But of course, this was pushed through because of emergency use or whatever.
Yeah,
crazy.
So
stuff.
this episode airs after this event happens, but I don't know if you guys. This Saturday is the Jake Paul fight.
Who's he fighting?
He's the Anderson Silva.
All right, let's make a prediction because then it'll happen. This will air, and then you will either look brilliant or stupid.
So Jake Paul wins.
You think he's gonna beat Anderson Silva?
I do. I really do.
Anderson's a good striker, though.
He is a good striker, and I don't know what their weight is difference. I think Jake's got him on size.
Doesn't he have reach, though? Anderson probably.
Anderson's out of his prime.
He is.
But
And I also heard, okay, and maybe fact check me on this one, that he's been knocked out twice by his sparring partners in this training camp.
Anderson Silva?
Yes.
Oh, that's not
Which
cool.
cannot be a good sign if your sparring partners
no.
are KOing you.
You know what's sad with fighters is that some of these guys with the greatest chins of all time, they'll get knocked out really bad once, and then that's it afterwards. They get knocked out really easily afterwards.
just
I've
easy.
seen that a few times.
So
Well, I hope that's not the case.
maybe you
No,
can fact
I'm
check
rooting
me
for
Doug.
Anderson, but yeah.
Yeah, I would like. I mean, I think this is how Jake is making all this money. Is I think probably 80% of the people are rooting against him. I think
Yeah,
but
I know.
he's done a brilliant job of being the heel.
Yep.
And is literally taking. Which, speaking of things I was wrong about, something I was very right about was the future of boxing and what it was going to look like. And I mean, and no more people are talking about this fight than like the last big boxing match that we just had a couple weeks ago. Like nobody was talking about that.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about this, and it's just like,
Yeah.
what is? Did it say that, Doug?
Well, it says he misspoke, so he's kind of retracting what he said.
Oh wow!
Oh, so he said it originally.
He did say it, but now he's kind of retracting.
Weird.
Oh, I was like,
All right,
I
Adam.
shouldn't have said that.
Adam, since you're feeling so good about whatever, being right or whatever, did you see, I sent this to the group.
Something else I was right about?
No.
Oh,
No, something that I'm going to give you another opportunity here.
Okay.
So Dyson put out a video. Doug, I shared it to the group.
Oh, God,
showing
no.
these
Is there
prototype
more?
robots that do household chores.
Oh,
More
God.
movement. More movement happening.
Stop! The audience doesn't even want to hear this.
No.
crap anymore.
I just giving you opportunity
No.
to back out.
No,
before-
dude.
Yeah.
I'm all in already. On
All
this.
right, all
I'm
right,
all,
all right.
I'm all in on this bet for sure.
All right. It's
not gonna
I won't
happen.
push anymore.
Yeah, it's not
that was
gonna
your last opportunity before I buy one.
We can speculate though on the company that will do it first. I mean, I think that's an interesting conversation on who is most likely to have like the autonomous cars or the robots inside the house.
Well,
like,
this Dyson commercial's
Dyson would
pretty
make
cool.
sense in terms of like engineering in the cleaning space,
Yeah.
right? Like,
I mean, it's Tesla though who's claiming to have going to have the first prototype though, right? Of
yeah,
the-
but and they always, I don't know. It just seems like they'll make a stance and claim it, and then it's like a couple, 10 years later, like they'll actually come out.
Did
with
you
it.
see Elon, what he said about the Cybertruck? That if it goes in water, it's like a boat and it can drive in water.
Was that a feature the whole time?
I guess he made some. Maybe Doug can look it up.
Dude,
Some
he's
comment
still
he made.
making little
it's
modifications.
amphibious. That's so cool.
That'd be
Yeah.
rad.
That is cool.
There's like a video of it going through the
Makes
water.
up for how ugly it is.
It looks awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm more sold on the Rivian after I seen that video of it pulling next to the Raptor and the.
it's
Didn't they
so
do?
fast.
Hold on. Didn't they just have a huge recall? Was it Rivian that had a huge recall?
oh, I don't know.
Maybe we got to double check it after we see this video of. Let's see.
Well, it's not a video.
Oh, okay.
Is it amphibious?
Well, according to him, it will be waterproof enough to serve briefly as a boat.
briefly. What does that mean?
It will not survive a 40-day, 40-night flood, but
So it can cross
cross a
rivers,
if you
lakes.
briefly drive over a puddle, you'll be okay.
No, it says he'll be able to cross rivers and lakes. He gets to be careful with shit like this because there's gonna be some dude that's gonna buy this and then there's gonna be a flood. I'm gonna drive through this right now.
Oh, did you see some of those Florida videos of like the Lamborghinis and cars that people
Did you see the hurricane videos where there were literal sharks in people's neighborhoods?
No.
Oh my!
This was after the hurricane. It flooded and there was
Terrifying.
sharks swimming through The streets.
What?
Yeah, dude.
Dude, imagine how much
got
you would
swept up
how much you
in-
would shit
in
yourself.
neighborhoods.
You in your little inflatable
You get
raft
bit by a
trying to get
shark in front of your house. That's crazy.
That would be the worst.
Yeah. So is there a recall on the Rivian or my
Yes, it looks like there is.
Oh.
Oh, no.
What was it for?
Let me see if I can.
I think it was something bad. Like
While you're doing that, I know we have a PRX commercial today. Justin, did you get the stuff ordered for Utah yet? I know.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
So I tried to get as many of the items that we had in our Chucky place as I could, so that way we have like the weight trees, we have the pull out with the pull up bar on it.
Okay.
They actually have a new feature which we were playing around with in the studio. The pulley system. So it attaches to the actual rack.
Okay.
And so it has a little pulley, and then at the top you can attach like your handles and grips and all that. So it has another pulley that kind of runs through.
so you can use an upper pulley or a
So
lower
I'm so
pulley.
glad they made that, because last year when I got mine in the garage, we actually bought one of those. Well, Katrina and I found one, and then we actually made it ourselves and put it on.
The pulley?
Yeah.
Oh,
so we have
yeah.
it, and it looks identical to theirs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. I imagine theirs is probably a little bit better quality, because I think Katrina just found ours somewhere on
Okay.
Amazon or whatever. So, but theirs looks like it's
If you have
more
a home,
solid.
if you have a home gym and you have a rack, adjustable bench, barbell dumbbells, and you have an ability to do like some cable exercises, you have everything.
Yeah. That was like the
You're
last
done.
possible thing that
Yeah.
like you could add. And I mean, they even have the fold out bench that can incline. So it's like it can be folded away nicely and everything, but you still get an incline option, which I thought was an improvement as well.
I was explaining this to somebody who was asking me about the whole tonal, and so they came by here and they saw that we had that up against the wall.
Oh, yeah.
and I think that's so. I was like, dude, you know what? For the amount of money that you spend for that, and I pointed right over to the PRX racks for that. I said, you get that almost that entire setup right there. I said, you can also make payments on it like you are with a gym membership, so you barely feel it every single
And then
month.
you don't need the subscription.
Yeah, and then once it's paid off, you'll never have to do. I mean,
Totally,
that'll
you need a
last you
subscription every month.
forever, and you have what will really move the needle inside the gym. And that's my biggest thing with those cables is they're cool for upper body. I like them. It's a cool little
machine.
Yeah, cool little machine for upper, but lower body trash.
No.
Absolute trash.
I worked out for the better part of the last 15 years on just a rack, adjustable bench, dumbbells, barbells, and a cable. That's how I've worked out the 90%
really
of
all
the
you
time.
need.
You don't need anything else. I trained all my clients. I had a whole, trainers in there and wellness experts training clients. That's all we had. That's all we used. We had cables and that.
I'm actually surprised that there hasn't been a gym that has made that popular where instead of having like this gym, because let's say most gyms, I would say, what would you say? 50% of it's filled up with a bunch of machines?
Yeah.
What if you had 25, 30 squat racks and 20?
It's like CrossFit
That's
gym.
a big CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, kind of like that, right? A massive, but a commercial size.
Or like a college weight room. Like that's
Yes, that's
actually
that's a
they have
good.
like platforms.
You know
and
what the problem is that the perceived complexity of looking at a barbell and a rack and going, what do I do?
well, you got to get
versus-
people that know what they're doing.
I mean,
Yeah,
I feel
versus
like-
a machine
but
that
I feel
tells
like-
you what to
I feel
do.
like, I mean, come on, people do that even with machines. Machines actually look more complex. You walk up to it. Sometimes I have to go like, what the hell is this for? So that's just
Yeah, but at
as-
least there's a picture. And it's
I
like,
know,
I'll
I
put
know.
myself
I mean,
in.
that's the conversation now. But maybe, I mean, I could see that. Look how much gyms have evolved since we've been in them.
Yeah.
They've definitely changed the way they look.
Yeah.
And there was a time when squat racks were absolutely dusty and nobody used them. Now there's lines for them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we actually start to the conversation.
weight rooms
Well,
are dominated by
honestly,
weights.
I think like in terms of a layout of like a cool box and like maximum efficiency of space, like I would totally go the foldable rack route. Like think about how much space you could open it up for class settings, bring it back in, like and like have a lot of different station options that way, and be able to keep a lot of clutter out of the way of the members.
Yeah, a gym, like a superior gym for me would be mostly free weights with some bodybuilding kind of machines that I have nostalgia for. That's it. But you often see the opposite. What you see a lot of in the big box gyms is tremendous investment in like tons of cardio equipment.
Yeah, cardio equipment and machines.
Yeah.
You see so much of that. And imagine again having a gym where you had, that many platforms and squat racks and bench press. Like, boy, that would
My
be
ideal gym would literally be just racks alongside the walls, and then in the middle is all grass for me to do all my sled work and everything else.
Did you guys? You guys. Of course, you didn't see this because this was mine. Creatine potentially has anti-cancer properties. Yes. One more thing. God, I couldn't sell this freaking. I wish I invented creatine.
Is it not okay? So
The ultimate
we've been
wellness
saying this
product.
forever. You in particular have been saying this forever. Is there a multivitamin that has it yet? Because that has to
Probably.
that has to be the first
It's
thing.
starting to make its way into the
You
wellness
think it'll
space.
make its way into cereal?
Maybe it definitely is going to make.
fortified?
To me, it's definitely going to make it into a multivitamin.
Yeah.
If it's becoming that many health benefits to it, that I at least 3 grams, right? I see like a 3 gram thing of in a daily multivitamin. You'll see, or maybe even half that, just some, right? I think that's going to be a selling point for a multivitamin if it's not already. Do you see any, Doug?
I'm looking for them. I don't see any yet.
Why haven't we made that?
Yeah.
You're missing out on probably
Creatine
I think
$100.
the public, I think that you can very strongly and easily make the case to the public to take creatine. You would just have to counter the myth that it makes you this huge buff, whatever. Just like strength training, right? It's the same argument or conversation. But yeah, creatine increases ATP in the cells. ATP is the primary source of energy for your cells. So your anti-cancer cells, your brain cells, your heart, your everything has more of this energy. They're going to operate better, and you get better mitochondrial health. So it's like this longevity supplement, it's this health supplement. Yes, you also get stronger. Yes, you also recover better. Yes, it probably helps your bones.
Now, is that still true in a cancerous state? So you know how like we know that testosterone is incredibly healthy, like for you, but in a cancerous state, then it can be
Depends on the cancer. I don't know. They didn't do it. Okay, so I have to be clear. It wasn't people who had cancer who took creatine. It was what's the effects of creatine on the cells that fight cancer, and it strengthens them and improves them. So that's why they said creatine could have some anti-cancer properties.
Preventative,
Yes,
qualities.
but that's a good question because when you're in a cancer state, almost anything can change, right? Like carbohydrates could feed cancer, so can fats.
Right.
Proteins can feed it. Like mTOR, which is good, but in the cancer state can fuel cancer cells. So I don't know. That's a very good question. But according to what I read, it strengthens the cells that go out and kill cancer cells. So it helps improve their health. What's that say there, Doug?
Up there? Oh, I don't know. That's a different screen that I'm on.
shopping online still.
While we're talking. Anyway.
No, what I see is there's a lot of conversation about taking multivitamins and creatine at the same time, but I don't see any combined.
Well, we just gave the idea away.
There's a
Adam. Good
winning
job.
product.
Somebody's
Right
there we
gonna
go.
do it.
Good job, Adam.
Too late now.
Like I said, someone's gonna make a whole $100. Look out.
Hey, you got to go check out this company, Live On Labs. They make nutrients and supplements that have pharmaceutical grade technology delivery systems. So they use liposomal technology to bring these nutrients to the target tissue. So oftentimes what happens when you take a multivitamin or a supplement is you just get expensive urine. Not with Live On Labs. This stuff gets to where you want it to because, again, they use pharmaceutical grade technology. Go check them out right now. You can get liposomal glutathione for free when you bundle it with the B complex and vitamin C. That's only for Mind Pump listeners. You go to liveonlabs.com/MP. That's LIVONLABS.com/MP for that hookup.
Our first caller is Chris from Nebraska.
What's up, Chris? How can we help you?
Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks again for everything you guys do. I've been listening to you guys for about 4 years now. So I'll just hop right into it. So the question I have is how to lose fat without losing weight. So a little background about me. I'm 36 years old, 5'10" and 235 pounds. I'm currently doing MAPS Anabolic. I'm in week 2 of phase 1. And really focusing on my strength. For the longest time, I did more bodybuilding with cardio. So I do lifting and cardio probably 4 to 6 times a week. And then got to the point where I was doing either CrossFit or then preparing for like a triathlon. COVID hit and I got more into powerlifting. And while I really enjoyed the increase in strength, I noticed I put on some fat. So I started doing cardio again. I recently deployed, I'm in the National Guard. I recently deployed to East Africa. And while I was there, I was doing a lot of powerlifting, still putting on weight, but felt good. And was able to keep the fat off with cardio. So now I'm back, rolling back into a normal 9 to 5 job, trying to still at about 235. still lifting strong, but I've noticed I put on some fat. I have a 43-inch waist, and I really understand the height, the waist height kind of waist height ratio for health. And so I'd like to get down to about 18% body fat or somewhere around there and just be able to maintain it for the long term.
Okay. And now in the question that you wrote to us, Chris, you said that you'd like to stay at the same weight, but bring your waist down from 43 to 36. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And you said you want to get down to 18% body fat. Do you know what body fat percentage you're at now?
My body fat percentage is about 25%.
Okay, that's what I would have guessed with that waist size. So I'm going to do some math for you, just so we could get more specific with or more detailed, I guess, with the goal. So right now you're sitting at 235 pounds at 25% body fat. That means your lean body mass is 176 pounds. Okay, so at the moment you have lean body mass, which includes bone, water, muscle, organs, so everything that's not fat, at 176 pounds. If you weighed 235 pounds at 18% body fat, then your lean body mass would be 192 pounds, okay? So what you're asking basically is to gain 16 to 17 pounds of muscle while simultaneously losing 16 to 17 pounds of body fat. So that's specifically what the question is that you're asking. Does that sound like a reasonable question when I pose it that way to you?
That does sound a little aggressive.
Yeah. Well, it's just a little unrealistic since you're trying to cut. I think I would worry less about exactly. Like, I mean, I would focus on one thing. Like either let's focus on building some muscle right now, and then that's the focus, or hey, let's focus on getting your waist down, right? So, and the inevitable is probably going to happen if we're going to go from a 43 down to a 36. We're going to lose some weight. The goal is to lose mostly fat. But the reality is we'll probably even lose a little bit of muscle along the way. But trying to simultaneously build muscle while also shrinking your waist down to 36, I think that was the point of Sal posing the question like that. Is like, okay, that's kind of crazy, right? To add 17 pounds of muscle while you're also shrinking your waist.
Yeah, that wouldn't even happen with a beginner. And you've been working out for a while, right?
Yeah, I've been working out since I was 14, so about 22 years.
Okay, so the odds that I guess the odds that you'll be able to even gain 17 pounds of muscle at this point is actually quite low. You've been working out for a long time. You're 36 years old, so you're probably at the peak of the amount of muscle and strength that you're going to potentially, or that you could potentially gain. Not saying that there's no more potential, but an additional 17 pounds of lean body mass, a tremendous amount of muscle mass to gain. So I would focus at this point, and it's okay. You can always focus on building. You can focus on cutting, but you got to give yourself some reasonable goals. Otherwise, you're going to set yourself up for failure or a disappointment, or just go too aggressively in one direction or another. I would focus on getting lean at this point. At 25% body fat, the health risks associated with body fat are present now. So as long as you're below like 18, 17%, you can be very healthy and fit at 18% or 12%, for example. It's not going to make that big of a difference. But once you pass like 20% for a man, you start to see kind of health risks associated with body fat percentage, regardless of your fitness level. So if you've been training for a while, you've been working out for a while, and you, like you said, you kind of bulk to this point, you feel really strong, I'd focus on cutting, and I'd make it slow. I'd make it a slow process and try to preserve muscle. But what'll happen is you're probably going to lose about 20 pounds, and you might lose a little bit of lean body mass while doing that.
But you'll look more jacked.
Oh, yeah, 215 at your height. I would say between 205 to 215 at your height we'd look incredible. At 5'10", you'd have a really a good amount of muscle, mobility, good strength, all that stuff. And then from there, you could play the mini bulk, mini cut game where you get a little stronger, get a little leaner, get a little stronger, get a little leaner. But yeah, typically when someone bulks, or at least when a male client would bulk, I wouldn't allow them to go higher than about 18, 19%, just because then you start, it depends. Now, if they're power lifters and they're in a like unlimited weight class and we're just looking at max strength, we don't care about other factors, then that's different. But in terms of the health risks and stuff like that, I would say I would go to the cut. I'd go to the cut right now.
Chris,
and I wouldn't let yourself get up too high.
Chris, have you counted calories? Do you know about how many calories you're eating a day right now?
Yeah, so right now I average about 2,600 calories. I usually hit protein pretty easy. I know that's hard for some people. And then my fats are usually around 80 grams, and then my carbs are between 150 to 230.
What's your activity level? That's kind of low for a guy your size. Are you pretty sedentary, or do you have a job where you move a lot? What's your day look like?
No, so my job. So yes, my job is pretty sedentary. I do take 1 to 3 15-minute walks a day, just one to maintain my sanity, but two to also get that to get a little extra cardio in. And then, like I said, MAPS Anabolic Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And then I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai on Mondays and Wednesdays.
Do you happen to track steps at all? Do you have any idea like what's your daily steps? Because you're a perfect person who wants.
No.
Okay, so someone like you who wants to lean out but maintain as much muscle your size, like I love to give step goals as a way to increase the caloric deficit, because you're already at 2,600. If you would have told me you're eating 3,800 calories, and I'd say, oh, let's cut our calories a little bit, keep our activity going, strength training, MAPS Anabolics, perfect, and you're going to lean out nice and slow, but you're already down to 2,600. I wouldn't want to quite cut your calories that much more right now, because I think a guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would actually do it through movement throughout my day. So you're kind of on the right track already, but I would be more specific about it. Like I'd get myself a Fitbit or an Apple Watch or something to track my steps and start to give myself incremental step goals. And you can do that through these 15-minute walks or a 1 long hour walk. I don't care how you get it. Just we would set a goal of, okay, I'd track you for a week, see that you're averaging, let's say, 6,000 steps a day. And I say, okay, Chris, our goal next week is to get 8 to 10,000 steps a day consistently. And let's do that for the next 2 weeks and see how your body responds. And then after that, I go, okay, let's get us up to 10 to 12,000 steps. And I would incrementally move you up through steps. And till you get to a point where you're like, man, Adam, I actually have to get on a piece of cardio and do it for an hour just to get our steps. That's kind of how I would move you up. Because you're already at 2,600 calories, it would be a total different story if you told me your calorie intake is much higher than that.
Well, let's get deeper into that. Chris, how often do you track your calories, and how consistently do you track them?
I track them daily to the point where I'm even like anyone else, I like my beer. So I'll even track the beer and the drinks like that. Okay. And sometimes it's a guesstimate because, the calories on beer might always not be exact. But it's pretty close. And so when I see that, I'm like, okay, so I know I'm going to have 4 drinks tonight. This is where my macros and calories need to be for the rest of the day.
Got it. You know, what's interesting, Chris, I don't necessarily have, data to support this, but I've had clients, who just simply cut the alcohol out and even replace those calories with like protein and get leaner. And they get leaner. Alcohol's got this really interesting negative effect on muscle and just body composition in general. It tends to, in my experience, promote fat storage and muscle loss. So just putting it out there. I know that's, people enjoy, their drinks and, whatever. And
but if you have an aggressive goal, and especially if you're coming in trying to maximize both pathways, that's definitely a deterrent. I was going to interject and say the same thing I've noticed with my clients. So something to consider, really kind of cutting down on. It's
weird. I've had clients cut out 200 calories worth of alcohol, replace it with 200 calories worth of quality food, and get leaner. Yeah. And I've seen that consistently.
Oh, wow. Even if you just did it for 30 days just to see how your body responds, because that'll probably be enough time for you to be enlightened by it or show that it doesn't really make a big difference for you. I think that's great.
Every time I'm surprised. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. The calories are equated for, but obviously the metabolism is much more, and the body is much more complicated than we realize. So just putting it out there, because that alone might put you in the right direction.
Yeah, and it's the direction I'm trying to go. I mean, like I said, I like my beer, and so instead of drinking as many nights, I'm down to about 2 or 3 nights a week. So cutting a little more probably would not hurt.
Okay, and then the last thing is, I know we typically tell people to get their calories up to a certain point before they cut, but what's really interesting is there's an individual variance in how sensitive someone's body is to cutting calories and adding calories. So like on one end of the spectrum, we could have a woman who's eating as many calories as you are, and she'll be like, okay, I'm in a good position. Then she'll cut her calories and her body still doesn't respond super great. And there's a lot of theories as to why that could potentially happen. We don't have to necessarily get into that. And then I'll have other clients will cut 200-300 calories and they'll start to see fat loss. So I know your calories are at 2,600. You could try bringing them down to 2,300, which isn't a big cut. Just see what happens. Be consistent with it for a few weeks and see what ends up happening, because you may be more sensitive to the calorie cut than you may think. In other words, you might not need to cut so low.
Okay.
All right. But I think that the moral of this is let's move in one direction and try to set your goals to be much more realistic, because the initial goal that you gave us, I mean, it's just not going to happen.
I got you. Okay.
All right, man. Well, thanks for calling in, Chris. You know what? You're following MAPS Anabolic right now, right?
I am. Yep.
Do you have any of our other programs?
Yeah. So I actually, while I was on deployment, I did MAPS Performance and a little bit of MAPS Aesthetic. And then I did a little bit of MAPS Aesthetic when I got back to the States. So
I'm going to send you.
Give him Strong.
I was just going to say, I'm going to send you MAPS Strong, and then MAPS Powerlift would be a good follow-up to that. But I'll send you MAPS Strong for free.
Awesome. Hey, thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
You got it, man. Thanks for calling in, Chris.
Take care.
So I don't like cutting his calories because of how big he is, dude. He's big and like he's muscular.
We didn't ask him how he felt eating 2,600 calories. You know, sometimes people are like, "Oh, I feel full and satisfied."
Right. I should have. I just assumed eating only 26.
Adequate.
I assumed actually that was low for him. I assumed 2,600 is him trying to eat clean and good, because that's low for that size, dude.
But we should have asked him.
I mean, what was he? What would you?
176.
176 pounds of
Lean
muscle.
body mass.
Yeah. That's a good amount of muscle on you, and to be only eating that. And he also said, I hear that correctly? He's rolling jiu-jitsu twice a week too.
Jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai plus MAPS Anabolic.
Yeah,
I mean we need to ask him how he felt. I should ask that, because I know people who eat less and they're like, I feel good. This is what I want. But not everybody. Most people
drinking three to four drinks 3 to 4 days a week is a lot.
It is. Even 2 days a week.
That's a lot of empty. So the thing too about alcohol is empty calories. Even I try to explain this to clients that like them, like, I'd rather see you eat a fucking cheeseburger or a goddamn corn dog, because even that terrible food it's got
to be the worst thing I've ever seen.
It doesn't give
for
you
body composition.
Yeah.
I've never seen somebody. I've always seen somebody's body composition improve when eliminating alcohol, and I've never seen
alcohol and candy are like the worst.
Yeah.
Like just there's very, very little nutritional value you're getting from any of that, and so it's just a waste of calories,
inflammation, and everything else.
And then when you're trying to go the opposite direction, it's just if you're gaining and you're bulking like that, to me, okay, then we can ever have a little enjoyment every once in a while because we're on the gain, but on the cut, it's just like
that's just one of those things. Like you're coming in with an aggressive goal, and you want your cake and eat it too. Like you got to really tighten up from every single angle possible to even get close to that Goldilocks zone of being able to burn fat and like maintain your muscle mass. That's a really difficult goal and trajectory that you're setting. For.
And I do want people to do what I did, which is when you got your body fat percentage, figure out your lean body mass. Then
factored off of that.
Yeah, but then like, oh, my goal actually sounds crazy, because when I positioned it like that, okay, so you want to gain 17 pounds of muscle and lose 17 pounds of body fat, like both are very hard to do on their own. One of them is actually almost impossible for somebody who's been working out.
There's no real room for flexibility, dude.
Yeah. So.
Well, and then you throw in the other element that his calories are that low.
Yeah.
Imagine if he answered, "Oh, I eat 4,200 calories a day." Like now we're talking like we could seriously lean out, maintain a good amount of muscle mass, but you're that low of calories too. Like
you can't really go down from there.
Yeah.
Our next caller is Emily from Ontario.
Hi, Emily. How can we help you?
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me. So I recently had a deep tissue massage done, and the therapist saw immediately that my shoulder symmetry was off. He said it was impressive, not in a good way. And he couldn't believe the number of knots I had in my back and my shoulders. So he said I needed to slow down my workouts, and because he could tell I was lifting too heavy, I wasn't tensing my core enough, and he could tell my breath work needed improvement. So for the past few weeks, I've been lowering my weights, increasing my reps, and trying to focus on my posture and just getting that full rep motion that we all know and love. So my question is, if I keep this up instead of lifting to my max at every workout, does this help in the long term of preventing those knots I had, or at the very least minimizing them? I do want to go back to lifting heavy. I really did love that.
Yeah, let's first talk about a massage therapist.
Did you leave with crystals and supplements?
It's kind of like taking dental advice from your mechanic. I don't know if I would do that or not.
Bodywork. So I've worked with bodywork specialists.
That's what my wife does for a living and taught the school. It's not
half the time they annoy the shit. I mean, not because they don't know what they're doing in their field. They obviously know what they're doing in their field. But I've had this happen so many times. I've had this happen with chiropractors too, where my client comes back. My chiropractor said I should stop lifting weights, or my massage therapist said, and I'm like, listen, I'm going to tell, what if I told you stop seeing your stupid chiropractor? Because I can adjust you here at the gym. They don't know what they're talking about when it comes to exercise. Now let's address the second part. You said you work out to your max all the time. That's probably inappropriate. Okay. So, a broken clock has the right time twice a day. He might've been right in terms of you working out too hard, too often. If you have asymmetry in your shoulders, it's more likely due to bad connection to your muscles, bad form, technique. So I would focus more on proper technique, proper form, making lightweight feel heavier, not necessarily going heavier. So getting better technique, better form, better connection. But I need more information. So,
I also want to know too, are you following any of our programs? Because right away, Prime and Symmetry come to mind right now for me. Mm-hmm. So what are you following of ours?
I'm not, please don't yell at me. I'm not following any yet. I wasn't sure which one to start with. Symmetry sounded like a good start. My problem is my ego. When I go to the gym, I want to go hard, and to take a couple step backs and say, focus on balance, don't focus on a sweat is pretty hard for me. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you want better results or do you just want to get sore?
Better results. I want to do this for the rest of my life. So my goal is long-term with the gym for sure.
You're going to love MAP Symmetry, Emily. I mean, it's going to balance your body out, and it's probably going to develop the best physique you've ever had just based off of what I'm hearing. So I'm going to send you MAP Symmetry, and then a good follow-up to that would be MAPS Anabolic. But Symmetry is probably where you need to go. But if you're feeling tight, you're feeling, because muscle knots. All right, so what are muscle knots? There's a lot of theories as to what that is, but it's probably your body trying to protect itself. So muscles are slightly flexed to try to limit ranges of motion because your body doesn't necessarily feel safe or stable outside of a particular range of motion.
Some form of instability may have occurred, which then that's why Symmetry, I think, will be so revealing, is to be able to kind of see where that root kind of stems from.
Have you watched the free webinar that Justin did on MAPS Prime?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I didn't know it was available.
Yeah. I'm gonna have you, Doug.
You can do that today.
What's the website for that?
MAPS Prime webinar.com.
MAPSPrimewebinar.com.
Yeah, mapsprimewebinar.com. It's and what I want you to do is go through that. Justin takes you through the 3 tests that we have in MAPS Prime. I think focusing on the Zone 1 test is going to be really they're all going to be beneficial to you, but Zone 1 primarily, focusing on that part, that portion of the webinar before you go into Symmetry, the combination of the two of those. And then I agree with Sal. I would run Anabolic and then even Performance after that. That would be kind of the order of operation as far as programs for you.
And that'll give you, 9 months. That'll be 9 months of workout programming if you went in that order. MAP Symmetry, MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance. And I think you'd be blown away by the results that you'll get following them in that order. But we'll send you Symmetry because that's the one that you need to start with right now. And follow it to a T, okay? Trust the programming, follow it to a T, watch the videos, and watch what happens to your body. I think you'll be more than surprised.
Okay, so does that mean that I can continue to lift heavy? I don't need to drop my weight so low. I can continue what I'm doing.
In the program, you'll see that there's phases where you're focused on heavy, and then there's phases where you're not. So follow the program. So you're going to see in phase 1 of like MAPS Anabolic, you're going to do Symmetry first, which is isometrics first, and you won't get to the heavy lifting till the end of the program. Yeah. So follow it the way it's laid out. So you will get your opportunity.
It's gonna be mentally challenging for you, for sure.
That's right. It's going to be challenging at the beginning, but trust the process. Also trust that in the program you'll get to lift heavy, but we want to lay a solid foundation for you first before you start to do that. And that's something even your massage therapist would agree with.
And consider this, Emily. Heavy is relative. So like I could make 200 pounds on a squat feel just as heavy as 300 pounds with my technique, my tempo, and my form. So it's not necessarily about the weight that's on the bar or on the dumbbell. It's just about how heavy you can make it feel. And so if you're looking to balance your body out and you're noticing imbalances and instability, then what you probably should do is focus on using lighter weight, but then making it feel heavier through control, stability, and tempo. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I recall your last episode about the 15-minute workouts, how effective they are.
Yep.
So I do recall you mentioning that. So my follow-up question to that, though, so since I've been dropping the weights, my body weight has been dropping, and I'm pretty concerned that it's muscle. And I know you guys can't tell without a full assessment, but is that something to expect when I lift lighter? Is that you are going to lose some muscle along the way?
No. Unless you've done something dramatically different with your calories and your protein intake, it's most likely, if anything, you're actually leaning out and building muscle because the novelty. See, the problem with always lifting heavy and training one way all the time is the body gets very adapted to that. And transitioning over to lighter weight, even though you feel like maybe I'm not as strong because I'm lifting lighter weight, it's novel to the body, and which will stimulate more muscle growth. So it's extremely beneficial for you to do that.
More recovered. So I think that's what people miss a lot of the times is that whole process it takes for your body to rebuild itself. So to allow it to adequately recover a lot of times is what's necessary for you to push through to the next phase.
How much weight have you lost, Emily?
I have lost 55 pounds as of last year.
Wait a minute. You said, hold on a second. You said you went lighter and you lost some weight. Is it the 55 pounds you're talking about, or is it more recent, like a little bit of weight?
So during the lockdowns, I lost 55 pounds just with diet alone. And then I started to go to the gym where I've sort of maintained where I'm at. And so I've always teetered between like 161 to 164. But since I started lifting lighter, I'm now like 156, 159.
Oh, okay.
So
you probably,
so yeah.
Probably body fat or water or both. And I'd be surprised if your diet hadn't changed during that process as well. Because typically changing your rep range, changing the focus tends, like Adam said, tends to stimulate muscle growth. And you're not going to lose, if you're still lifting, let me put it this way. Studies show that way less volume and intensity is required to keep muscle than it is to build it.
That's right.
So you could train your ass off, gain 10 pounds of muscle, then go at 50% of everything, 50% of intensity, 50% of volume, 50% of frequency, and you won't lose any muscle. You won't build any, but you won't lose any. So I wouldn't worry about you losing tons of muscle right now. If anything, your diet probably changed and you might be either dropping some water or some body fat.
I'm really excited too. I mean, hopefully you trust us. If you haven't ran any of our programs and you allow us to guide you for the next 9 months, I think we'll blow you away. I really do. I think that if you just trust the process, trust our programming, getting a conversation with you, kind of get an idea of where you're at and what you need, the order of those programs that we just laid out for you is literally perfect. Like, I promise you, if you trust that process and you just follow it to a T one time through, it'll change your life. I swear to God.
I'll trust you guys. Thank you guys so much. And I just want to thank you, not just for the information, but your humble beginnings and your personal stories. It means a lot to beginners to know, like, we started where you were.
Awesome.
Thanks, Emily. Thanks for calling in. Yeah. In the order of annoyance from people telling my clients to stop lifting weights, number one is doctors. Yes. I've had clients come back and be like, my doctor said
lower back.
Yeah, it's like, and then in bodywork specialist chiropractors.
Doctors are the worst. The doctors are the worst because they have the authority.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Counter them is so.
Yeah, it's so hard. It's like you know, good luck trying to convince somebody who you barely know that their doctor is wrong and you're right. So that's a losing battle.
Right.
But the chiros and the massage therapists, I mean, I'm glad you pointed out the broken clock point is that it's not necessarily that he's completely wrong. It's just terrible advice to make a blanket statement like that to a client and make them think, oh, it's the lifting. You're lifting too much and it's too heavy. That's the problem. Like, no, if you were lifting with proper mechanics, you can lift as heavy as you possibly want. You're just going to build muscles and be great for your body. So that general advice to the average person makes them think that, oh shit, lifting heavy does this to my body, therefore I shouldn't do that, which that's awful.
Right.
You know, her doing the isometric and symmetry, her doing MAPS Prime, you know, I really wanted her to go to performance, but I do think the order because someone based off of what's going on with her, she's a perfect example of someone who I would take all overhead pressing and change to Z press. because when someone gets all those knots from lifting heavy, normally what it is because they're pressing and like one side is like cheating or getting favored on it, or it's off, right? It's not.
There's some asymmetry.
That's right. Sure. There's some asymmetry. It's not tracking properly, and this is what makes the Z press so awesome. Is
the great equalizer.
And I would tell her, go ahead, go heavy as you want. The only rule I have is you got to press it above your head, you got to stabilize it for a second, and then come back down, and then go for it.
Well, symmetry is going to highlight that for sure.
Yeah,
she's not going to be able. You know, it's funny. I have a personal story around this. This is actually how I met Doug. There was a chiropractor. So I had a bodywork specialist that worked in my studio. She went to this chiropractor. He told her, you need to stop lifting weights. And I was like, so annoying. Yeah. So I went and talked to him, invited him to my studio, and I trained him. After I trained him for a few weeks, totally changed his mind. He was a massive advocate.
Giving out that advice.
And then he ended up referring Doug. That's how Doug became my client.
That's how you got that chiro?
That's right.
Oh, I didn't know that he was. I know the story about that chiro, but I didn't know that
he was
originally telling your clients.
He told one. He told her. He said, "Don't lift weights anymore."
I've never heard you tell that.
Yeah,
story.
So I'm like, you know what? He's in the area. I'm just going to talk to him.
Listen here, cocksucker.
And I brought him in. I said, "Let me train you." And I blew his mind. He worked out with me, and I blew his mind. He felt incredible, and that was it. And then he referred people, and Doug was one of the people he referred.
That's great. I didn't know that part.
Our next caller is Priscilla from Georgia.
Hey, Priscilla, how can we help you?
Hey, thank you guys for taking my call. Really appreciate you guys' work. My calls in regards to incorporating cardio in a weightlifting program. Just to give some background info, I'm a United States Marine, 24 years old, about 5'5", and so the Marine Corps has 2 fitness tests we do every year, and the one that's in January to June, it's the physical fitness test, and it consists of planks, pull-ups, and a 3-mile run. I'm fine with the strength portion, so the pull-ups and plank I'm fine with, but I kind of struggle with the 3-mile in terms of trying to get the max amount of points. And I'm trying to figure out a way to incorporate my cardio routine with my lifting routine so that I can run a 21-minute 3-mile. I'm currently at around a 24-minute 30-second, but I know that listening from to your guys' podcast, it's kind of hard to balance everything. But I was wondering, what would you guys suggest as to how to incorporate cardio into a weightlifting program?
All right, so I'm going to give you some general advice, and then I'll get a little bit more specific. But so you're saying you're okay with the strength. You can pass the strength test. You'll keep strength easier than it takes you to build it in the first place. So what does your workout look like now? What's your breakdown in terms of strength training and running?
I actually currently was working using anabolic in the process of, I think, the 3rd phase, but then I had to stop because of other training. So right now I'm just kind of doing HIIT workouts for the 15, 20 minutes that I have. And so using anabolic, I was basically just doing your guys' routine. But besides that, before that, it was just regular, random things in the gym, the machines and stuff. So
you're not doing,
I can max out.
You're not doing any running at all right now?
Actually, today we started a 100-mile competition for the month of November. So I just ran 6 miles. But besides that, I wasn't anticipating having to do that. I just think it meant in general after this challenge is over.
Okay. So before that, you weren't running as part of your workout?
I would say probably once or twice a week.
Okay.
Probably 3 miles each.
Okay.
Wait, one more question though because she did say she was doing anabolic and then you went down to kind of this HIIT thing because of other stuff. Is that other stuff still happening, or can we potentially? Because what I'm thinking in my head, MAPS anabolic with running 3 times a week would be this perfect protocol in my head. Because I think you're gonna and it would literally be a 3-mile run 3 times a week on your off days of weightlifting, and I think that would be perfect. But if anabolic is too much right now, then we could also do a MAPS 15 with that same protocol I just said. So what's your schedule like?
So my training now, it's about to end this week, and that's when I can go back to that's when I was planning to go back to anabolic. But I think it was more the timing part of it. My training just took up more time than I thought it would, and it kind of, with everything else involved, I couldn't commit to anabolic at the time being. But after this week, I should be done with the training.
All right,
should be good.
Well, generally speaking, if you ran 2 or 3 days a week, I don't think you should do 3 miles each time. I'm going to disagree a little bit. I think you should do a short run, a run where you're doing 3 miles, and then one where you're doing a little bit longer. So they're different intensities. The shorter one is fast. Obviously, the one that's 3 miles,
I'm okay with that.
You're cruising. Just to mix it up, okay?
Yeah.
So you want to have something that looks more like a sprint, something that looks like what you're trying to do, and then something that's just a long, leisurely
So what do you think? 1, 2, and 3?
Something like that.
Yeah,
Like 1,
I think
2, 3.
Try and get a fast 1 mile one time a week, then do a moderate 2, and then your 3. I like that.
Yeah, and then in lift, but to be more specific, I'm going to send you MAPS Cardio because I think that's going to lay it all out perfect for you.
Okay.
MAPS Cardio literally incorporates cardio with your workouts, and it's endurance focused. You shouldn't lose any strength on it. If anything, you might gain a little strength.
Perfect. Wow.
But I think it'll
I really
target.
appreciate that.
Sorry.
I would really appreciate that because I know you guys said that you can't really do both in terms of the cardio, like strength. You either lose some strength or you lose some cardio. So I didn't know if me running as much as I can while doing anabolic, if it'd be too much for my body, and that would be like detrimental to the workout.
Well, running as much as you can would be. So yeah, running as much as you can would be. That's why there's a fine line between that. And I think that's why we created MAPS Cardio, is to give like the optimal amount of weight training to coincide with, somebody who wants to increase cardio.
And there's
endurance.
another part
it
to
supports
this.
your cardio efforts as opposed to like having the strength be the priority. So you're just kind of shifting your focus of adaptation a bit.
Yeah, and there's another part to this too. The strength test, the strength portion of the test that you're doing is pull-ups, a plank, and push-ups, right? Okay.
No push-ups, just a plank and the pull-ups.
Okay, so planks and pull-ups are also quite dependent on body weight. So you might lose strength in your max squat.
Mm-hmm.
You may lose strength in your max deadlift and your bench press. But oftentimes, gaining some endurance, maybe losing a few pounds, even if it's a few pounds of muscle,
will go up.
your strength to weight ratio goes up. So when I lose weight, my pull-ups tend to go up, even if my total strength goes down. So I don't think you'll suffer on the pull-ups and the plank following a program like MAPS Cardio. What I think is going to happen is your pull-ups and plank will be the same or a little better, and your endurance is just going to dramatically go up. And then after that, I'd like to see you do something like MAPS Symmetry. I would like to see you kind of balance things out with a unilateral type training.
Yeah.
But MAPS Cardio it's all there for you. Yeah, literally it'll be laid out for you. Follow it as it's planned, and you'll be all set.
I'd also look at potentially MAPS 15 for the times when you have to cut back. Instead of going to a HIIT style all the time for your short workouts, MAPS 15 is a great alternative to still strength training, but keeping it a short workout too. But I agree with Sal. Cardio, then symmetry in that order would be ideal. And I think Doug will send you over cardio.
Okay, I really appreciate that guys, and all the suggestions too. But like everyone always says, you guys have producing like awesome content. I just found you guys a few months ago, and I feel like I've learned so much from you guys. So I appreciate the time again, and hope you guys enjoy your rest of your year. Happy early holidays, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for what you do too. Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, so that was actually a good question, right?
Yeah,
it was quite a balanced question, and I mean, again, her strength goals involve pull-ups and a plank.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when this first happened to me, I went on a cut, and my pull-ups went up, and I'm like, oh wow, I built muscle while I lost weight. And I'm like, wait a minute, I lost weight.
Wait a minute, I lost weight, so this is easier, which is great, and you're still working on maintaining your muscle mass and strength while you're trying to pursue cardio. It's just this shift now. That's the high priority for her.
Yeah. I also like your recommendation of shorter. I think I actually recommended that to somebody who had almost a similar question in the past, I think. Yeah. So I do like that idea of doing like a sprint and then I think the person was a longer run than this, because 3 miles isn't very long. I mean, that's a under 30-minute run for somebody. But the idea of doing like a fast 1 mile time, see how fast you can get that, and then something in the middle, and then her 1 day a week just challenge to see what her 3 mile will look like. You do that for a few weeks, I bet you'll see an increase.
There was a period of time where I trained. It was a significant percentage of my clients that were either triathletes or marathon runners, because once you
like
train
Ironman,
one, and then they start recommending and referring. And the most success I had with some of these endurance athletes was when they never trained the distance that was their competition. No joke. I trained a marathon runner, and she never ran the marathon until the marathon came.
Well,
almost never.
It's like peaking for powerlifting.
Yes,
same concept. You rarely ever see a powerlifter max out on his way to a powerlifting meet. You want to save that for peak day, right?
Yep.
Our next caller is JR from Arizona.
JR, what's happening, man? How can we help you?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on.
You got it.
A little bit of background. I recently turned 40. I'm 5'6", about 140 pounds, around 10, 11% body fat. I've been lifting pretty regularly since college, so 19, 20 years or so. Over the past couple years, I've picked up boxing. So that's been a lot of fun. I recently started MAPS Anabolic with the goal of putting on more muscle. And I've continued to box 2 to 3 days a week, just on the off days. I get quite a bit of a shoulder and bicep and quad pump during those boxing sessions, just from the high volume of punching and then body weight squats from bobbing and those types of things. So my question is, could that be counted as one of my trigger sessions? Because I know you guys talk about just trying to get a pump, and I do get that. Or should I continue to do those as well? And then just as a follow-up, is there a program you'd recommend given those goals of boxing and putting on muscle?
Yeah, let's address the trigger session question first. It's yes and no. So what do I mean by that? It's not a replacement for trigger sessions. In other words, it doesn't do what a trigger session does. However, I don't think you should throw extra trigger sessions on top of it because it is more work, more damage, requires more recovery. So you could do another triggers, maybe one trigger session on those days, but it's not really doing the same thing as a trigger session. But that's okay, right? Because you like boxing, you want to learn the technique, the skill of it, and there's many other benefits from boxing aside from whatever muscle building effect you may get from like a trigger session.
Honestly, if you were to do any trigger session type work, I would actually do stuff to counter the boxing, right? So I would do things like prone cobra. I would do some stuff like band pull
mobility
aparts,
stuff,
pull aparts, mobility stuff,
more mobility type stuff. Yeah. So, as far as programming is concerned, MAPS Performance is gonna be great for what you're trying to do, just because it's really focused on movement, it's focused on multiplanar movement, it's focused on rotation and all the stuff that's
explosive power.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's all that kind of stuff that like aids and bodes well with athletic performance. So I mean, in terms of combining the two, that's really as close as we're going to get with our programs.
I also want to know a little more about the goal though, because you're in good shape. Sounds like you look like you're pretty fit. You're boxing, you're lifting. Like, are you trying to change your body composition? Are you trying to build, shrink, or you just want to be good at boxing, stay strong? I mean, what are a little more specifics to the goal?
Yeah, I'd like to build a little bit, maybe 5 to 10 pounds at the very most. But generally, my ultimate goal is just have good energy, be healthy, right? I'm not competing in any bodybuilding competitions or anything like that. I would like to get a little bit bigger, but that would be kind of a secondary goal of mine outside of just having more energy and being healthy.
At 10 to 11% body fat, with a good strength training program, which MAPS Performance is also phenomenal for that, it's going to come from your diet.
Yeah.
If you ate in a calorie surplus and pushed the food intake, you'll see the gains in muscle start to happen. So that's where that's going to come from. I would bump your calories 500 to 600, and keep your protein intake high. And you should notice more strength and more muscle just from doing that, because it sounds like you're working out right, you're doing everything kind of good. And because you're so lean, you can go up 1% or 2%, not a big deal, but you'll get some good muscle and strength gains that come along with that.
I'd also like to see the follow-up to MAPS Performance. I would like to see Symmetry after that. I think that would be a good follow-up program. Just the unilateral work that's in there, the isometrics that are in there, since he's doing a sport, I think that will help keep him balanced. So I would add that in there too.
Yeah. And then for mobility, if you're interested in more specifics around mobility, Prime Pro will have lots of different movements you could do to really work on connecting to different ranges of motion and improving your mobility. But I think the program that you should follow while doing this is MAPS Performance. And you could use the mobility sessions in there in combination with your boxing. I think they're actually quite synergistic. And really the way it's laid out, I think is gonna be perfect for what you're trying to do.
And back to what Sal was saying about the nutrition, if you're not seeing gains and you're not building muscle, it's most likely just not enough calories because you're probably pretty active. I mean, if you're training that much and you're boxing, I don't know how difficult it is for you to hit a calorie surplus or not, but if you do notice that you're not building muscle, it's most likely because you're just not able to get your calorie intake up high enough.
Yeah, I've put on about 5 pounds since starting MAPS Anabolic, but I do have to force feed myself a lot. It's pretty difficult for me to gain weight given the activity and just high metabolism. So but I have put on some weight.
Oh, well, that's actually really good. 5 pounds. That's phenomenal.
You're doing great, dude. Honestly, you really are. That's the hard part about doing like a sport like boxing or basketball or anything like that. That's high intensity. Is just it's hard to build while training and then doing that. It's just a lot of calorie burn. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in. We'll send you Maps Performance, JR.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You got it, man.
Right.
Yeah, that was pretty black and white. I think pretty simple.
Well, I think he was already in. I think he's just wanting to get confirmation that he's doing the right thing and he's okay. And then about the trigger sessions, I thought that was a fair question. Like if somebody is doing something already in addition to the weight training program, I'm not really going to add much in there unless it's corrective stuff, right? That's why I brought up the band pull aparts, the prone cobra, maybe some hip mobility stuff. Like
you still got to count it as work because obviously that's putting the stress on the body. But to complement it would be the way to do it. And just once, I think, is a good recommendation as opposed to multiple times a day.
Yeah, boxers do really well with shoulder mobility and rotational movements where they're working on lumbar and just rotation in general, but lots of shoulder mobility, and it really improves their ability to do what they do in the ring when you focus on those things. And as far as building strength and muscle is concerned, for anybody listening who's a boxer and worried about the added muscle and strength and what that'll do to their boxing, so long as you practice the skill of boxing alongside the gaining muscle, then you'll be okay. If you stop boxing and then gain a bunch of muscle, what will happen when you go back to boxing is you'll find yourself feeling awkward because you have a new body. It just doesn't move like it used to before. So you have to do both at the same time if you want to have your skill match your new body size. So
what do you guys like as far as the order then? Like performance, symmetry, and then would you circle him back to anabolic or performance, or where would you move from there? Like
I think that's a fair way to do it. He could go strong.
Yeah, I was gonna say either anabolic or maybe strong. Yeah, if you wanted to change a pace.
The only reason why, because I thought strong too. The only reason why I don't like strong with him boxing is I would cut out the work sessions and that be just as boxing then,
right?
Because that's a lot.
The work sessions are intense.
They are. And so to do the work sessions on strong and then also boxing, I think is too much.
That would actually be closer to a work session, than a trigger session. So that would actually make sense.
Yeah. Totally. Look, if you like Mind Pump, head over to mindpumpfree.com and check out our guides. We have guides that can help you with almost any health or fitness goal. You can also find all of us on social media. So Justin is on Instagram at mindpumpjustin. Adam is on Instagram at mindpumpadam. And you can find me on Twitter at mindpumpsal. This one's really important, and that is to phase your training. If somebody trains for a full year doing a bench press and they're always aiming for 5 reps, if you compared that person to a person who did bench press where they did 3 or 4 weeks of 5 reps, but then they did 3 or 4 weeks of 12 reps and then 3 or 4 weeks of, let's say, 15 to 20 reps, and then they'll throw in some supersets. At the end of that year, you're going to see more consistent progress from the person who's moving in and out. And less injury. That's another thing. You'll see less injury as well.